I had to wait till Paul sat down to make him stand up. Good afternoon, Cary Rotary Club.
Good afternoon.
It's great to see so many smiling, festive faces. We've all got, many of us, have special clothing, accessories today. It's great. If only you could see the view that I see. It's fantastic. Well, thank you very much. Can I call on Rod Brooks to begin our meeting with prayer and the pledge? Rod.
Let us pray. As we gather here today as members of Rotary, particularly in this season of love and kindness and grace, we pray that we are ever mindful of opportunities to render our service to fellow citizens and to our community here and around the world. Please bless this time together, this food for our nourishment. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God bless America. All right, Bill, I know you volunteered to introduce guests, but I know.
I'm happy to introduce all of our guests tonight. Thank you, Trevor.
It's wonderful to have all of our guests with us today, and I know you'll be introducing us to
I
us.
think it's a great crowd here. I'm glad to see everybody in person.
It is fantastic. It is fantastic. To begin just with some of our business and announcements, let me first just thank everybody. We have a few days left to ring the bell. We've had a fantastic response to our session so far. I see lots of faces in this room that have spent time Thank you to Darren Gay and his family who are ringing even as we speak, sacrificing a cheeseburger and French fries to ring the bell for Salvation Army. We do have a couple of spots yet to fill, so I'll make an appeal here that we do have a spot Thursday at noon to ring with Joe Sturdivant. We've got a spot Thursday at 4 to ring with Santa Claus, Tim Mannix. We have full slot open at 6 o'clock, so we need someone to ring at 6 o'clock Thursday night. And we have a double slot also open, the Charlie Mann slot, traditional Charlie Mann slot at noon to 2 o'clock on Friday, since he inevitably ringing on Thursday instead. So please, please, if you have availability, we especially need to get those Thursday night and Friday noon, someone ringing there. And it's always more fun when there's a pair. So also Thursday noon, Thursday 4. But thank you for everyone's support. I hear that the funds are coming in very quickly and we're well ahead in our competition. I'll also mention quickly, since holiday schedules are filling up, nobody's got any time. So thank you all for coming today. But as you look ahead, just plan for Saturday, the 29th of January is the First Quarters District Conference, which will be held live and in person. I'm sorry, that's the RLI that will be held on January 29th, live and in person in Clayton. Our district assembly is the 19th of February. It will also be live in person, but at Greenwood Forest Baptist Church as per usual, so back in person. Mark those dates on your calendar if you will. I'm going to make a quick transition here. If I can ask Don Finkbeiner, we're going to give this a try. Don, can you come to the podium? And in the meantime, I'm going to ask Mary just to say a few words and then give you a chance, okay?
Thank
So
you.
hang on just a second.
All right, I'm hanging on.
Hang on.
Hey, Don. Fellow Rotarians, it's my pleasure. Oop, can you hear me? I know we can't. Can you hear me in the room, Bob?
Go ahead, Mary. Yep.
Okay, okay. Hello, Don and fellow Rotarians, both virtually and in person. We have a special presentation that's going to be taking place over Christmas holidays, and it has to do with Don and his grandson. Don, were you going to say anything, or I was going to virtually present this to you, and then you want to make some comments?
Yes, that's the plan, Mary.
Okay, great. So Rotarians associate the naming of a Paul Harris Fellow as a tribute to a person who has demonstrated a shared purpose and support for the educational and humanitarian objectives of the Rotary Foundation. The recognition, as we all know, is named after Rotary's founder, the late Paul Harris, a Chicago lawyer who started Rotary with 3 business associates in 1905. A world of goodwill and better understanding comes closer to reality today because Don Finkbeiner, or Donald Finkbeiner as he's known at Rotary International, has made a substantial donation to the Rotary Foundation so that his grandson, Vincent Donald O'Neill, can be named a Paul Harris Fellow. It gives me great pleasure to have Don speak with you about his grandson and who he will be awarding the certificate, the pin, and the medallion to his grandson during the Christmas holidays. Thank you, Don, for your continued support of the Rotary Foundation.
Am I on?
You're on.
And Mary, thank you very much for your kind comments and for this opportunity, making this possible for me to do that. I have 3 grandchildren, 2 grandsons and a granddaughter. And the oldest grandson had just graduated from high school and is attending his first year in college. And so I'm going to be very pleased on Christmas Eve to make a presentation to him of a Paul Harris Fellow. My wife is a Paul Harris Fellow. My daughter, Alice, is also a Paul Harris Fellow, and this will be the first grandchild of the 3 that will be a Paul Harris Fellow. So thank you very much for all the support, Mary, that you've given in getting this information to us. And I'm looking forward to doing that this year. Thank you.
Hey, Don, hang on one second, Don,
Oh,
because everyone that's online and in the room needs to see
there you go.
the coordinate. If our sergeant at arms were here, I think there'd be a couple of bucks going in the fine bucket.
Where is he when we need him?
I don't know. Amnesty for the holidays. Thanks, guys, for dressing up.
Oh, all right.
And congratulations to your grandson on this Paul Harris Fellow. That's fantastic.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
Do we have any miracle moments for today? I know we've got at least one online. Do we have any in the room? Well, in that case, we'll get a special. Hang on, Harold, I'm coming to you. Go ahead, Harold.
You can hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
I just had a miracle moment that my daughter, who lives in Dubai, had a young baby boy, and everything went well with the C-section at the end. And mom and his name is Felix are doing great.
That's fantastic, Harold. Congratulations. New member of the family at this time of year is always pretty special. Anytime is special, but especially at the holidays. Can I ask Mr. Bill Fletcher to introduce our special speaker today? Bill.
Thank you very much. Glad to. It's my pleasure to introduce you folks to Vicki Adamson, one of our 7 county commissioners. I've known Vicki for many years. She is a business graduate from University of East Carolina University. Spent 15 years in corporate finance in different organizations. Then she became a full-time volunteer, being a leader in the PTAs of, let's see here, Hunter, Lynn Road, Ligon Middle, PTA president. She was very involved also in Southeast Raleigh High School and the Business Alliance, helping support the students in that school with business community connections. So she's been an advocate for good things for many, many years. We happen to be in different political parties, but this is somebody that you can talk to, somebody that actually will have a conversation with you, and you don't need to get out your bombs and trolls. I want to say this about Vicki. March of 2019, our county leadership was faced with some decisions about how tough do we shut down. You know, some other communities, Durham, for example, determined that certain businesses were not essential. Wake County determined that to some case, but Wake County also determined that the real estate industry was an essential business to keep running, even though COVID was in our midst. And I want to say thank you to Vicki for that. And I think we will see from our general economic benefit that keeping the real estate industry moving in all of its parts, the building community, the realtors, the attorneys, the associated businesses to that industry, we all benefited from it. So I want to say personally, thank you, Vicki, for that and for your leadership and for being willing to listen to people who have different ideas and providing leadership in our county. Thank you very much. Come on up.
Thank you, Bill. I forget we're from different political parties. Because that's one of the reasons I like local government a lot more than state government, is we don't get into the partisan divide. I mean, if you need schools, you need schools, and how to build a school is not Republican or Democrat or Libertarian. You just need schools. But what I have done today is I have some slides and thought I would just sort of skim a lot of the things we're doing. And then we can go into questions, and Bill's going to let me know when we're finished. But like I said, I'm Vicki Adamson. And of course, on everybody's mind is our COVID response. And I was sharing with the gentleman I was eating lunch with. In March of 2020, I was on Capitol Hill. I was vice chair at the time with the chair of the commission, our county manager, and our lobbyist, lobbying the Hill for things for Wake County. And early afternoon, the county manager got a phone call that we'd had the first positive COVID case in Wake County. And they said, but don't worry, we'll contain it, it'll be fine. So we have learned a lot about pandemics since don't worry, it's fine, we'll contain it. The impact of the virus is we have had about 140,000 confirmed positive cases in Wake County, and we have had 913 confirmed deaths. And every death is one too many. And as we know, the ticket is to get vaccinated. And once we got the vaccine, we have seen a sharp decrease in deaths. Now, Wake County Public Health, I'm just going to keep, there we go. So far, we have administered over 1 million COVID tests. And that's from June 2020 to November of 2021. And I know one of the things that's on a lot of people's mind is what is it with these appointments to have to get COVID tests? Last year, and we have learned a lot of lessons that I hope we never get to practice again. But last year, the week before Thanksgiving, the demand for our COVID testing increased 74%. And what happened was at our sites, we had long lines, we had hour-long lines, and people just wouldn't stay. They wouldn't get tested. So this year, we averaged about 4,200 tests a day. We increased it to slightly under 8,000. We doubled our capacity, and we went to an appointment system. Just so when you get there, you don't have to wait in line to get your appointment. And the goal is, if you're symptomatic and you try to get an appointment before 9 a.m., somewhere you will have a test before the end of the day. It may not be at your closest site, but we will get you tested by the end of the day. And we are still experiencing turnaround times of averaging about 6 hours. So if you come in the morning, early afternoon, you should expect your results. And I wanted to go ahead and talk about Omnicron. We know it's coming. It's our public health thinks it's probably already in Wake County. We just haven't detected it yet because it's been detected in Durham and Orange counties. And what we do when we do the testing, we normally don't test for what variant it is because that's additional testing. Because the goal of the testing is just so you'll know you're positive and you need to isolate, until you're feeling better. But we have been going back because we keep the positive samples. So we have been going back and retesting those. And what we have found so far is 90% of what we've tested is Delta. The other 10% is the original COVID-19. But we know it's just a matter of time till one of those is the new variant. And once we detect that, we will put out a press release so everybody knows. And I hope people don't panic because this is just what we've been dealing with for the last 2 years. It's just a little more contagious and it's just a different variety. But it really is just a matter of time. And what we have found is we're about a month or 6 weeks behind the Northeast is kind of the trajectory we've seen. And in Wake County, we're above the state average. We're 88% vaccinated, North Carolina 73 and 85 in the US. And we have found since this new variant has popped up, our vaccine sites have been brisk. So if you tried to get an appointment and there wasn't one till like the first of the year, keep trying back, we're adding appointments. We didn't realize that over Christmas, everybody would have the urge to get vaccinated. And this is our, I don't know if any of you guys went through our site at the PNC Arena, but it was unbelievable to see how all the organizations came together and we were able to do this. And at the peak, we were vaccinating almost 8,000 people a day through there. Once we got the vaccine supply and just got it all going. So that's how in Wake County, we have actually fared a lot better than most of the counties in the state. And that's because of that site and we got people vaccinated early. We've had a lot of, in Wake County, we experienced about 125,000 of our citizens who are at 200% of the poverty level or below. And most people don't realize that because we're such a prosperous county. But there's a lot of our citizens who have not experienced this prosperity. So during the pandemic, we have served 13 million meals to citizens who were food insecure. Now, one of the things that we have really been focusing on, because we are back at full employment in Wake County. And as everybody knows, there's a labor shortage everywhere. Everybody's looking for staff. But we have a group of citizens who are unemployed. So we are trying to work to bridge the gap. What are the barriers in getting folks back to work? Is it childcare? Is it job training? And we're in an economic boom. We're adding jobs like crazy in Wake County, but we have to know we have folks ready to fill those jobs. So we started this program. Well, Wake Forward is, I'm a little ahead of myself. But Wake Forward is what we started to help small businesses. So we helped almost 9,000 small businesses in Wake County bridge the shutdown. And as Bill was talking about, we did not shut down the construction industry. And part of that was our economic development folks kept telling us that, you know, the tourism industry was going to have to go down. But that was the fastest to come back. Because once things started to loosen up, they would be pent-up demand. And that's exactly what we're seeing. People want to travel, people want to do business meetings. But once you bring down the construction industry, it's a lot harder to get it ramped up again. So we didn't pull, we put a lot of restrictions on, but we didn't pull the construction industry down like a lot of our peers did. And that turned out to be a really good decision that we kept construction moving. So we'll talk about economic development. This year, we have had the most economic development and job creation in any year in the history of Wake County. Do you want to hop on to the next one? Thanks. We have had $3.75 billion worth of investment in Wake County. And these are just companies that are large enough to qualify for our economic incentive packages. This doesn't reflect a lot of small businesses. And we have added 5,889 jobs, which is phenomenal. But it makes that gap a lot harder to fill with the folks. Now, as we talk about an economic development, says success begot success. And we knew when we got Fujifilm and Apple, they were coming. And they are coming fast. So as of 5 o'clock yesterday, we have 44 active projects that are large enough to qualify for our economic incentive packages. And we're in one of the top 3. And what we have found when we get to the top 3, before Apple, we averaged 50%. We got about half. And if we were to get all 44 of those, which we're not, that's another $2.6 billion worth of investment and another 10,700 jobs. And that's just what we've got in the hopper right now. And the expectation is first quarter next year, assuming this variant doesn't slow things down, we're going to see a whole lot more announcements because they are coming and they are coming fast. And of course we got Apple, which is, I guess, I was really excited about it, but I think all our citizens were not as excited as I was. And just so you know, this is not something in the future. They are here. And they told us when we found out that they were a go, that they were going to start hiring immediately. And the next week, after they announced on that Monday in April, they had jobs on their website where they were recruiting for Wake County. And in June, they leased 6 floors of the MetLife building in Cary. And they tell us by next June, they'll have 1,000 employees at that facility. So they are not coming, they are here. And one of the things Bill, the realtors, told me was literally the next week, they were getting phone calls from Apple employees that were being transferred here. They were already starting to look for houses. So they are with us. And of course, our unemployment rate is really good. We're at 3%, which is full employment. It states at 3.6 and the US is at 4.2. So we are roaring in Wake County. So when we start, one more thing, there is this urban myth that when we give these incentive packages, we just show up with a briefcase of money and kind of throw it at these companies. That's not how this works. The state incentivizes companies based on the jobs because the state runs with our state revenue, income tax. So the piece they get for jobs comes from the state economic development. We incentivize for buildings because we run off of property taxes. And what happens for these companies that we give incentive packages to, and it's published on our website how we decide. And we actually, if you do above average benefits, we give you a little more subsidy. And if you build in an economic depressed area, we'll give you more subsidy. So we're trying to encourage people to go into areas that are not traditionally developed. And we've had 2 companies take us up on the moving into an economic depressed area. And one of them was Amazonic Art. They got a little more incentive for that. But we are never cash negative. We are really lucky in Wake County that we have infrastructure. A lot of our smaller rural counties have sites, but they don't have water, sewer, broadband. So they have to float bonds and come in advance and put this infrastructure in a site to attract a company. So if they don't show up, then the taxpayers are out on this infrastructure money. Well, in Wake County, we are so lucky that when you see these huge dollar amounts on TV of what we've given, we are never cash negative. So what happens is the first year they're here, we bill them their property taxes and they pay it in full, just like every other citizen of Wake County. And then we evaluate, have they done what they promised the first year? And if that's the case, we give them a credit toward their second year property taxes if they've accomplished that. And if some point during the period that we're giving them incentives, they don't meet their incentives, we can pull the whole package. So if they're, $100,000 under what they promised, we can pull the whole package. And we have pulled packages, which is actually really good for us because they've still got this facility. It's just not as big as they promised. So with Apple, we have an incentive package with them for 30 years, which is unheard of because they have guaranteed us that they are going to grow and add buildings and employees for 30 years. So when you look at this number that we gave them almost $1 billion, we didn't write them a check for $1 billion. That's over 30 years. And the expectation is with Apple, with the other companies that will come, by the end, and it's in 3 10-year phases. At the end of phase 1, they will be bringing $1.5 billion to $2 billion worth of economic development and activity to Wake County, which is equal to all of our tourism right now. So that's the scope that we're talking about. So if you have a house, I hope you like it. You probably won't be able to get it up. So that's how it works right now. But so we created this Wake's Works program right before the pandemic. And we have started with the 5 most needed trades because that is one of our big gaps, which is plumbing, heating, carpenters, HVAC, and welders. We just don't have those trades. Nobody's going into them in Wake County, and we need them. The average age of the licensed electricians in Wake County are 60 years old. So we have got to have these folks coming in. And what we found was when we started working with Wake Tech is we wanted to focus on not just your high school student, but your non-traditional student. Somebody who got out of high school, didn't get additional education, they're 28 years old and they realize I probably need a trade. And they've got a house, they've got to, rent, they've got a kid, and how do they go back? So we created this, what we call WakeWorks apprenticeship programs. And our goal is to have 500 students in it. And we have about 250 this year, which is our second year. And it's exactly what it sounds. They will be working 3 days a week in a company. And now the company is totally responsible for their pay. We do not subsidize that. They go to school 2 days a week, which is usually Tuesdays and Thursdays. And because it's so difficult for somebody who's a non-traditional student to afford to that, they're going to average about $50,000 a year through their apprenticeship program, and we pay for everything else. We pay their tuition, we buy their books. If they need special boots, if they need cotton clothes, we just give it to them to encourage people to get in these trades. So, and next year we're going to expand it to 5 more. And when we started this, I was the one who said, because typically with these programs, there's some subsidy to the employer who takes on the apprentices. And we weren't willing to invest, we just didn't have the budget to do that. And I'm the one who said, do you think these companies will really want to do this and get these apprentices if we're not going to subsidize their salaries? And they're like, yeah, Commissioner, we think so. And I'm like, oh, so I was misdoubting Thomas about it. Well, we embedded an employee in Wake Tech where we paid her salary to start talking to companies to see if we could find interest before we invested county dollars in this. And the first month, she had so many interested companies that she didn't have to go out and recruit. People found her. And we think we're currently investing about $500,000 a year in this program. And companies are wanting to expand it to the point they're giving us money to help expand the tuition assistance. So we think in 2 or 3 years, it may be self-standing and really not need county dollars, because people want, and especially in the construction industry, want this skill set so much that it may just launch without us. So this has been unbelievably successful. And the next program we did 3 years ago, right before the pandemic, Jessica Holmes and I led a commission to do a deep dive into why men make so much more money than women. Because, you can see the overall headlines, but we were like, well, how does that apply to Wake County? What can we do? And what we found was that in the white collar jobs, the salaries are starting to really be close together. It was in the blue collar trades that there was such a huge difference. And what we were finding is our male young people who was not prepared to do some type of 4-year degree were going into trades. And of course, that's a decent livable wage in Wake County. And our young ladies were going into food service and hairstyling. So that was a huge gap, especially for our single moms. So what we did in 2019, we created Wake Invest in Women's, which is an attempt to get women into tech and the trades. And it has been really successful. We found a lot of our young ladies don't want to go into HVAC and, electrical. They don't want to climb underneath houses. But welders, they love welding. For some reason, I don't know, they love welding. And the first group of girls we put in the welding program, you have to wear cotton clothing. Well, they didn't make welder protective clothing small enough for them. Men's small just swallowed these poor girls whole. So we literally had to go to the manufacturer and get special clothes made that was small enough for our young ladies. And we have produced quite a number of welders out of this and getting women into the tech program. And we have had several success stories where single moms were on benefits. They got their welding certifications and, they're making decent wages, supporting themselves. So this has been really successful. Okay, investing in affordable housing. Ooh. This is what everybody wants to talk about. It's this year, we're building 1,000 affordable units, which is the most units we have ever built in the history of the county. And we do dedicate a penny of your property tax to affordable housing. And that's about $18 million a year. And it's not just building units. It's also all of our homelessness services and everything that goes along with that. So, and as you know, we can't build our way out of this. Because right now we think we're about 58,000 affordable units short. And what that does, 58,000. Yeah, and we think in 10 years we'll be 110,000 units short. And we can't build our way out of that. So the way is we try to, we're putting a lot of money in these works programs so people can afford market rate housing. And we're trying to preserve what we have, because realistically, how it affects most of us, if you want your Starbucks coffee in the morning and somebody at that wage level can't afford to live in Wake County, you're not going to have Starbucks. It's just the reality of it. So we have, I've worked with a lot of business people who tell me, if they're not the dumbest guy in the room, they have put the wrong team together. So we have, I serve as a 40 housing chair right now. And we're just out of ideas of what we can do with the government. And we have actually been and visited other cities, and nobody's doing this well. What we have found is everybody says, don't do what we did. And so what you do otherwise is nobody knows. So we have put together an advisory board from the realtors, the home builders, and we're going to have our first meeting the end of January. And this is going to have to be a whole community effort to work on this problem. And I know everybody is concerned about house values. As long as supply outpaces, as demand outpaces supply, we're just going to keep seeing this upward trajectory of home values in Wake County. And from our builder friends, they just keep telling me that they can't get supplies, they can't build houses. So it's a real secular problem, and we're working on it. We're doing all we can, but it's just going to take a community effort to move this forward. And we have a house wait program. And this is our federal money we received to help people who were affected by COVID. And right now we're paying about 5,000 people's rent who had income decreases because of COVID. And this money is going to run out the end of February. So April 1st, they will be on their own to pay their rent. And so the housing crisis everybody talks about, it's April and May for us, because we have managed with this money and some county money to get us over the hump. And we are reaching out to these folks to see what the barriers are about getting back to work. Because most of these folks were financially independent prior to the pandemic. And 2/3 of the folks receiving this money are single women with children. So our expectation is the biggest hurdle is going to be childcare. Long-standing challenges. We are putting 62.
Yeah, about 2 more minutes.
Oh, sorry. We're putting. I'll tell you what. Let's blow through these really fast, and I'll take questions. Well, this is a lot more than I thought. So we can just read these, and I'll take questions. And I'll hang around afterwards since I chewed up all my time.
So, a couple of questions.
Yes.
Is there any practical limit to how many people would want to move into Wake County?
Yeah, we get that all the time. And if you turn the tap off, you're in danger of going too far the other way. So you're either growing or you're not. And we don't want to send ourselves into a recession type situation. So we are expecting the estimates are in the next 10 years, 250,000 to 350,000 more people are moving into Wake County.
So Wake County will become a wasteland if that doesn't happen.
Yeah. Well, not necessarily, but I'll tell you, there's about 95 counties in the state that would trade with us every day of the week and 7 times on Sunday to get the economic development that we have. Yes. Yes.
Back 20 years ago, when I was still a working stiff, my company did a lot of partnering with the state of North Carolina on the apprenticeship program.
Yes.
I haven't heard you say anything about that program at the state level. Are you partnering with that apprenticeship wise or not?
I'm not familiar with that program. I'm not sure what all they're still doing.
Maybe they don't have it anymore.
Yeah, I'm not aware of anything. I'm not aware of any apprenticeship program they have in Wake County, other than they do some with teachers. But that's the only one I'm aware of.
Well,
Yes.
Is there any talk of support for housing for people in healthcare, police, fire, teaching?
Yes. Yeah. What happens when we build affordable housing? It's not what you think of as traditional, like government, high rise kind of housing. We do all ours mixed income. So we typically, a lot of, like when the city of Raleigh builds housing, they don't get below 50% average median income, but we do. So when we build affordable housing complex, Everybody's in there from 80% of AMI, which is literally probably $150 a month discount on your rent, to 30%, which is almost no rent. So yes, so the teachers, firemen, those people fit in that higher category. So we do mixed use. So it's not just, does that make sense? But we don't prioritize one. Although Wake Tech gave us this beautiful piece of land that we can build affordable housing on, and it will be for students of Wake Tech, so they can afford to live there while they go to school. And the other question I get a lot of is, why do you build affordable housing where you build it? Wherever we get the land. So when you look at it on a map, it doesn't make sense. But I think I'll take one more question. I need to go.
Okay.
Yes, you want to go ahead? And then,
Well, just quickly, if you could speak to, given all the growth that's projected and the numbers you shared, could you describe what is the mechanism for the county's planning efforts to plan for that growth, and how can citizens?
yeah, you can just go Wake County Government Planning. And we have a huge planning effort going on right now. We spent it the last 2 years working on this. And we're calling it Plan Wake, because we brand everything with the Wake County name. That's just what we do. But we're completely redoing our unified development ordinance to try to accommodate all this growth. And of course, part of it is to move the land into the municipalities so we can build density. And we're trying to do a 10-year plan to make that happen. So we can add density and land that the county has that's in our jurisdiction. And because in 50 years, there's going to be no more unincorporated Wake County other than the watershed. Thank
Okay,
you.
Vicki, I'm
Sorry,
sorry.
that's okay, I'm done.
No, I'm sorry. Oh. I'd like to present you with a gift from our club.
Oh, thank
And
you
these are
very
by
much.
Jerry Miller, who's a
Oh,
member of our club and
thank you.
an artist.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vicki.
Thank you very much, Vicki. And thank you, Bill, for bringing Vicki to us. I guess today's program demonstrates that there's always more to do than there is time to do it in. So appreciate your sharing with us. Very quickly, we need to make sure that, Paul, you know that you have a happy birthday wish coming up for your wife, Carol, on the 24th. Don't forget. If you see Scott Gardner, wish him a happy birthday on the 26th. Our meeting next week, Stuart Shirk will be rejoining us. He visited last week. Thanks, Paul. And he'll be speaking about the challenges of owning a small business, one of which seems to be finding help. The meal will be chicken parmesan over rotini with broccoli. And we don't take any time off, no time off here at the Cary Rotary Club. And January 4th, Matthew Kane will be joining us with a great presentation. He's got great reviews about difficult conversations, how to have difficult conversations, particularly on race. And so it'd be good to have Matthew, a fellow Rotarian, former district governor, with us. Again, I wanted to, John, did you have something you want to say?
I just want to mention that Curtis Westbrook has been real sick. He's on thoughts my prayers. He's had a very serious heart attack. So he does need our prayers. Curtis Westbrook.
Yes, indeed. He had been ill a while ago, and so that continues. Thank you for making us aware of that. And this is the season for being grateful. It's joyful and together. And so just I want to wish everyone in the club a very happy holiday, however you celebrate it. Merry Christmas. I guess Hanukkah has passed. There are a number of holidays of all denominations. Let us all just be grateful for everything that we have and mindful of those around us. Bruce, you get the last word.
Just remember, today is the shortest day of the year, and we count celebrate the solstice.
So, in very special ways.
Let's keep it close.
That's a different club. All right, Mr. Jim Lovejoy, can you lead us out on the four-way test?
Well, this will be a test because the four-way test is not displayed, so.
You all
We're
in trouble.
The thing we think, say, and do. First.
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Good job.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Please see me if you can ring the bell.